trying to do what everybody else doing. Just 'cause
Hello,
everybody
everybody,
doing what they
and
all do.
welcome to an amazing episode of Hustle Woman Radio there. Where the joy of the Lord is our strength so that the obstacles of life don't become our kryptonite. I'm super excited because this is the station where you will learn, laugh, and get loved on. I am your host, Aquila Maddox, the hustle woman herself, also known as the inspirationalist. I have a passion to see women walk in joy, peace, and love within themselves as well as their relationships. That itself causes a major impact on your relationships, but also your self-esteem. I don't want to see my queens depressed and unaware of their self-worth. And I definitely want you to know the power in your capacity, man. We were built to do amazing things. And I just want to make sure that I share the revelations that God has shared with me so that you can know that. And believe it or not, it really has a very amazing impact too on our productivity and all that we began to do. We start walking more bolder, more confident, more fierce, boy. And as we talk about, you be like, you slaying right your hair and you slayed your makeup, or you be slaying your life. Watch yourself. But anywho, I want to start out by saying to everybody, Happy New Year. I've missed you guys. It's been a couple of weeks that we have missed. There's been some transition that has went on, but not just transition. It was also too, just a moment of just silence, so to speak, taking out some time to really build some things, because I told you guys that not Hustle Woman, but the Wife University online course is underway. It is like it's manifesting, you guys, in such a way that I just wasn't even aware of, and I'm just super excited for this course when it's launched. It's only going to be $19. That's something the Lord has said. Listen, it's going to be affordable because I want you guys to actually have access to it. And I believe the highest it'll probably go is $29, no lie. I'm just super excited to share the revelation of God, to inspire you women to become wives that transform lives. Whether you're in a position of marriage or desire to be married, it's going to be a life-changing and a blessed program for you to go through. It is 12 weeks, and each course is going to be only like 5, maybe 7 minutes long that you can just access from your phone. So I'm like super stoked. But anyhow, I'm excited for this new year, you guys. So much coming up. We got the Hustle Woman Convention coming up February 13th. And then I just began to be a part of the planning process for a speed dating event. What? Yes, speed dating. This is going to be interesting, to say the least. So stay tuned for that information. It's going to be on Facebook, but we're definitely moving and making some headway. The Hustle Woman Convention is also going to come to Minnesota here in April. So I'm super excited, you guys. There's a lot of great things going on. But anywho, I wanted to share with you today some things to help empower and employ your endurance and your revelation around your relationships. So I wanted to share with you some information that I had from a long time ago, and I happened to stumble up on this, and it's how to destroy your husband's manhood in 10 easy steps, you guys. I love the way that this was spread out. I mean, that this was laid out, because I was like, how to destroy it in 10 easy steps. But it's really something to give you some information, again, to just be aware of for your relationships. And this is by Julie Seibert from The Intimacy in Marriage. So if you want to look her up, definitely do so. Number 1, ignore him sexually or just go through the motions, right? Because sex matters, you guys. And many husbands are dying on the inside, wishing their wives understood how much it really does matter. If your husband is like most, he wants a wife who is not only sexually available, but also sexually enthusiastic. If this is a big struggle for you, figure out why and then do something about it. Even if we just kind of go right there, I know a lot of women have suffered, disappointment in their marriages, and you've seen your husband do things that doesn't please you and doesn't make you proud. But I would like you to ask the Lord to help you in that place, not because sex is an obligation, you guys, not because of that at all, but it's an opportunity for you to connect with your husband. And Satan is so amazing that he looks for every opportunity and door without fail. And he knows how to seep in and infiltrate the relationship. And so I would want you to ask yourself really and truthfully, like, how valuable the relationship is to God, because sometimes we may not value the relationship that moment the way, we normally would. But it's very important for us to know that God is very, very concerned about our relationship. So I had to learn the hard way that where love is concerned, you have to consult the one who created love in and of itself. And sometimes when I have been in my past trying to reconcile love with, within myself, that reconciliation just did not happen, because if I take the situation that I'm offended, or the offense, right, and I reconcile it against my feelings may win. And I'm going to be like, listen, I'm not doing anything with you. You work my nerves, get out of my face. But when you take it and you take it to the Father who said, I love you both equally, and I understand you're a hurt daughter, but I also know that this is going to be something, believe it or not, that becomes healing, not just for you. I mean, for him, but for you as well. He can help your heart place in that very moment and in that situation. So I know it may sound weird, but if you're having a hard time connecting with your husband in the bed, I'd say pray first. It's the truth and it works. Number 2, desire things that are not realistic purchases within his salary. So this is a good way to destroy your husband's manhood. Hey, boo, can I get some red bottoms? And he doesn't have a salary to, sustain that. Because in that very moment, you guys, it says here that it is a tremendous responsibility to be a financial provider for the family. Some guys shoulder this completely alone, but whether you and your husband both work outside the home or he is the main breadwinner, strive to be partners in financial responsibility. Don't intensify financial instability in your marriage by desiring things that are not realistic for your household income. If you struggle with this, find a mature sister in Christ to pray with you about getting your heart aligned with God on all things financially. So with that, also let me add my 2 cents to that is, you definitely want to have conversation with your husband, and also pray and ask God as well, because here's what happens. God said, of course, that he will bless us with the desires of our heart, and many people interpret that differently. But what that also means is God will change the desires, because sometimes our desires that we have is not the desire God wants us to have, maybe just in that season. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want us to have it. It means that he doesn't want us to have it he may not want us to have it at that moment. And so he may take that desire and change it in the moment for now, or table that desire for that moment for now, or ask the Lord to show himself and say, Lord, listen, my husband and I, desire, because we've had a conversation, to buy a bigger home. Lord, you are our Father and you care for us. And so give us wisdom on how to go about doing that so that it doesn't become a burden to our relationship or to him, because he definitely is, shouldering that. Even if you guys, honestly, you could even make more than him. But if he is, if he's a man who loves his family, then he definitely still wants to be able to not allow it to become a burden on you. So that's a thought that he may have. He may be willing to bear the burden, you guys. That may be when he said we can't afford it. He may not just be considering what it looks like in the bank account, but he may be considering, what if something happens to you and now that, or to my income, and you're not able to, and it becomes a burden on your shoulders, and he doesn't want that. So ask God to give you revelation about the desire, and then ask him, how should we proceed? Because again, he may change the desire for the season. Number 3, fake an orgasm. I know you may think that you are helping his ego by faking an orgasm, but you are harboring a lie in your marriage bed. That's bad spiritual mojo, if you ask me. Be sexually vulnerable with him. Instead, show him how to sexually please you. Your orgasm matters. God designed it and he wants you to experience it. I'm guessing your husband wants that for you as well. So of course that was every bit of sarcasm. But anywho, my little 2 cents on that, I agree. Definitely agree. You want to be able to be honest with your husband. And so listen, honesty is efficiency. Okay. So you get there quicker if you tell the truth. A lot of people are not comfortable with bedroom talk. Understand. Trust me. I had to learn to become comfortable with telling, my husband what I desire, what I want, what I look for, what I need, how to please me. And sometimes I've heard women say, well, I don't want to have to teach a man, because we've had experiences where there are men that are automatic, or I ain't gonna say automatic, but maybe it is. They've already learned how to do that, and they kind of find their way around a lot differently. But That's not the point. Your husband is your husband, and I want to encourage you to understand your husband, and he has a desire to please you. So don't overlook that. Definitely give him an opportunity to serve you in that way. Number 4, consistently run to your family every time you have a marital struggle. Leave and cleave. If there was ever a key ingredient to marital success, it has to be this: leave and cleave. I'm not saying you don't have a need, that you don't need safe confidants when things get rocky. You just don't need those havens to be your family. It is impossible for them to give you impartial advice. Okay, this is the relationship coach we're talking about here, you guys. That is what I am known for. Hustle Woman is a relationship coach. If I don't emphasize or say that enough, I probably need to throw that in the intro. I am definitely a relationship coach. I deal with relationship with self and your relationship with your spouse. And I even do family relationship coaching, but it's definitely important for you to understand that some people are definitely biased, and it is very challenging at times when you have family members who love you to be able to still love past your husband's faults. They're not oftentimes as quick to forgive as you are. So that is very important also for you to remember. Number 5, expect him to be like one of your girlfriends. Now this one is about to preach, y'all, because I've had this issue before. He's a guy, she says. He doesn't need endless conversation about endless details. Yes, you and your husband need conversation, and it serves as a vital role to the health of your marriage. But don't expect that conversations will look like the camaraderie you have with your gal pals. So that is definitely very, very, very important. I remember being very guilty of that. Wanting you're supposed to be my friend, right? But the reality is that he is your friend. And although he is called to a life of enduring with you, sometimes we entrust them with way too much information. They go into information overload, and where they should be able to apply and insert wisdom, they probably got all of way too much information on the table to consider. You think of the information you give to them like a deck of cards. It's, when you're playing solitaire, you got a lot of things to choose from, a lot more, hands that you can have. But when you're playing with a bunch of people, then you've got lesser cards to deal with. And so imagine that you don't want your husband playing solitaire in y'all's marriage where he's got all of these things to be shuffling around and dealing with, because it can become overwhelming. So entrust him with the information that, you believe is going to be very important for you guys to discuss. And then for some of your other situations where they have, much more greater details, or if when you're talking to your husband too, learn how to take out some of the detail, get to the heart of what the issue is, because that's what most men have a capacity for, to be honest. But anyhow, if otherwise you do, like they said, find some girlfriends that you can entrust. Call your relationship coach. I always tell people that, like, I'm available. Some of my clients feel very comfortable shooting me a text or an email saying, hey, can I get a call tomorrow, or can I get a call in the next 10 minutes? And I'm able to at least respond and set an appointment, or sometimes I'm readily available and I can chat with you then. But get your relationship coach. If you ever have that to be a question, you can send a text to 612-888-LOVE. That's 612-888-LOVE. So anyhow, number 6, immediately say no to what are reasonable sex requests. Now, I know y'all thinking, like, first of all, why is this article full of sexual stuff? Because you know that the men, the way God designed men, is sex is very important. And it's not that it's not important to us. Our perspective is different and our priorities are different. So let's go on to number 6. She says, obviously, if he is requesting another woman to join the two of you in bed, or that you watch porn with him, or that the two of you take up swinging with the neighbors, you definitely need to say no. Activities like this compromise the sacredness of marital sexual intimacy. But if he is desiring sexual variety for which you have no biblical or reasonable justification to deny, then don't be so quick to say no. Sex in a position other than missionary position, oral sex on the couch, a quickie when he comes home for lunch. My goodness, these are not so far out of bounds that you should be be so quick to shut him down. So my 2 cents on that, she's right. A lot of times what happens in relationships and even why people decide to step out in their marriage, it's not always the case, you guys, because I don't want you to think for one moment that most men are stepping out of their relationship for sexual variety. But there are some of those cases where in the relationship, it becomes mundane and boring. And in my online course, I actually address about the value of things being rare. So while there are some things you want to definitely make sure you incorporate into your relationship that are special, create some rarity around some of the things that you do so that they don't become continual practices. You don't want to do everything religiously. Okay. So some things you want to do spontaneously, different locations or whatever the case may be. Rarity is going to be very valuable in your relationship. Number 7, never thank him for what he contributes to the life that you share. One of the ways my husband shows love is acts of service. He mows the yard, changes oil in the car, hangs pictures for me, repairs broken stuff, and so forth. Not to mention works full time and does part-time work on the side. He contributes tremendously to our life. It would be easy to just take all of this for granted, and honestly, I did for a while, but I've gotten better about thanking him because I know what a positive impact it has on him, and to know that all of his efforts is not in vain. This is very, very important. My 2 cents, I actually included it in my course where I talk about your words are seeds and they're like fuel to your husband. So, or to your mate, for those of you who are engaged or if you're dating, they're fuel, man. And just like a car, it does better. It gives you better gas mileage when it's on full than when it's on empty. So sometimes I know, even myself, I've said in my past, well, I don't want to be stroking his ego. Well, sometimes it has nothing to do with ego stroking. It has everything to do with you filling their love tank. And you can continually fill your husband or mate's love tank when you continue to receive love, believe it or not from your husband, but from the Lord. Because as God fills our love tank, you have to have your love tank filled from a source that does not run out. So if you are oftentimes expecting your husband to fill your love tank and then you wonder when he gets on low, like what he needs to do, then it becomes a burden to the relationship. But I trust in God to fill my love tank by reading his word, being in his presence, listening to his word, by listening to people. I read the word, mainly different other, books that I may read, that it fills me up with love. And it doesn't mean that it's always love, romantic stories. Sometimes it's wisdom, because God is love. And so wisdom is also the language of God. So anytime wisdom is fed into me, then that also fills my love tank, because now he's going to give me wisdom on how to speak to my husband, my mate in that time. So again, sometimes we think it's I need flowers or whatever, but God may give you vision through filling your love tank with wisdom again, to see that, like she said, that these are ways that he's serving your family by cutting the yard, or maybe when he comes in the house, he gets the kids right away from you so that he can give you maybe 10 minutes to yourself. So when God fills your love tank, he definitely gives you more opportunity, or gives you a lot more fuel for the journey in your relationship. Number 8, expect him to parent like you parent. Dads are different than moms, better at some things, worse at others, but different nonetheless. Yes, what they offer to children is valuable. If your husband is a good dad, even if he parents different than you, stop getting in his way. He's giving your children something that you cannot give them. This is very good. My 2 cents on that is that a lot of the times, especially being a single mom, women out there, we've adopted. I've seen it happen, and I can't stand it. I'm gonna be honest. Where a lot of people will say Happy Father's Day to mothers. There is obviously something different in men than there is women. Otherwise, Adam being by himself would have been sufficient. But women created a balance to life's imbalance. So therefore, there's purpose in man and there's purpose in woman. So it is very important to recognize. And I preface a lot by saying pray, because again, when we get wisdom, then God allows us to see a whole lot differently. What is it that your husband provides to your family as well as your children that you are not able to give? You may need to ask God that, because if you feel like you can do everything better than your husband and he doesn't provide anything, then I would say, Lord, show me what my husband's value is to my children. And then if you still don't see it, say, Lord, show me how to back down so that I can emphasize the ability for my husband to parent, because we don't realize that you began to cultivate character and as well as behavior in your husband based off what you do. So if you do way too much, then you're probably not giving him room to do a lot of anything. And therefore you may be having a hard time to see, because there may not be a lot to see. Okay. Number 9. Become hypersensitive to what are normal male behaviors. This was one of my favorites. Trust me, I completely understand, or I get that you don't want him farting and burping at Easter brunch on your at your mom's. But in the same regard, you need to have reasonable expectations of how he behave in the privacy of his own home. For the most part, I just think guys are rougher around the edges. But is this really such a monumental thing? Who cares that he wants to lay around in his old college shirt and sweatpants and watch the ball game? If he wants to eat an entire plate of nachos, or at 11 p.m. in his underwear, is this really cause for an alarm? Probably not. And gals, he will never be able to wrap a present as well as you. If you ask him to wrap the present, be grateful he wrapped it. Don't rewrap it. So this was my 2 cents. This is awesome, because that is absolutely true. A lot of the times when I listen to the couples that I coach, I find that what their complaints are connected to is just normal male behavior. So a lot of the times my response is, oh, I'm not shocked, because if you go into any home, there are common themes and problems that arise. Sometimes it's also just simply common themes depending on the season. It's like seeing the spring come and we're shocked that it's raining. It will always rain in the spring, ladies and gentlemen, unless God decides to change that up. So in the same manner, there are certain seasons in men's life where there's things to be expected. Like we talk about, a lot of people, you hear about it, is called, what is it called? The midlife crisis. And they all go out, get, a new car and all this stuff, right? Well, that's a season of life. Midlife crisis is not something that happens and it's, and it lasts forever. Midlife crisis is a season. So with that being said, there are seasons where men are still learning to be men. There's, and that doesn't matter. Has no bearings on age, because a man who may not have had to be responsible for anyone other than himself is still going to look like, at 35 or 40 years old, is still going to look like the guy who never been responsible for anyone in himself, possibly at, 29. So it's still, some of these things are still common behaviors for people that are growing, that, for men that are evolving and things like that. So just be aware of that. Like, what season of his life is he in as well? Number 10, use his lack of Bible knowledge to your advantage. Ooh, this is spiritual righteousness. It makes your husband feel like crap when you point out that you understand the Bible better than him. In many marriages, the wife has a better understanding of scripture, whether it be because she takes more Bible studies, was raised in a stronger Christian home, or has been a Christian longer than her husband. It's not that having a thorough understanding of God's word is bad. It's actually good. But if you have such a deep understanding, then you likely recognize how much God talks about the character quality of humility. Your husband possibly already feels inadequate as the spiritual leader in your home. Okay? Don't add to his insecurity. Find ways instead to build him up, including in your own private quiet time with the Lord. Yes, every marriage is different. And I imagine if we brainstormed a while longer, we could come up with other ways to destroy a husband's manhood. But let's not be those type of wives. Instead, let's be the wives with an authentic responsibility to help our husbands be the man of God has called him to be. Let's be all about building manhood, not destroying it. So that's pretty much that. But I wanted to, like, my 2 cents about that. I was actually married, twice, and both my husbands did not have the same knowledge of the word that I did. And I know that let me tell you, this is why I think this is just so awesome, because not every woman intentionally does that, right? But I found that in my excitement, in my first marriage, I would share my revelation, the revelation God would reveal to me, and it became overwhelming to my husband. And even though I was not utilizing the Bible for his own, to against him, or I wasn't saying, hey, you don't know this or whatever, or I understand it better, I wouldn't talk to him that way. But what I learned was in sharing the revelations that God shared with me, especially if I prefaced it that way, let me tell you what the Lord told me, or let me tell you what the Lord revealed to me, or let me tell you what I read in the word, it became very overwhelming and sometimes intimidating for my husband. And it would actually make him feel very insecure. And he would turn around and be like, well, I don't want to hear it. And for a season, he shut me down. And it was very hard for me because God gives a lot of revelation to me. And I wanted to share again with my best friend. And so that's where I learned, believe it or not, that there are some things you may just need to talk to your girlfriend about. And then in other areas, I may just need to walk that out with my husband and just share the revelation that God shared with me with my friends. So sometimes, ladies, that's not intentional, right? You're not just throwing it up in his face. But again, just being aware of the impact of giving, information overload. So I didn't want him to feel insecure about the fact that I was learning, but I was learning and I was excited about what was being revealed. So it was into him and his perspective. It was emphasizing what he did not know. So that's something else that I want you to think about. But this has been really, I don't know if it's been helpful to you, but I definitely know it's been helpful to me because I remember having this a long time ago and thinking like, good God Almighty, this is some good stuff that I definitely can't wait for an opportunity to share. Never knew what platform or how I was going to share it. So I'm excited to have shared this with you today. I definitely want to thank everybody for tuning in and for listening. Super duper excited to continue the journey with you on Hustle Woman Radio. Again, we've got the Hustle Woman Convention where we have 11 dynamic speakers. That ain't even including me. That is going to come and empower your capacity, you guys, and share with you amazing revelation so you can know who the heck you are as a woman. You are a beast. You understand that? Literally. And so God is like, I want the women to know who they are because I'm telling you, we're about to take the world by storm, not because men are less, that is nothing to do with it, but it's for us to take our rightful places so that we can honestly be a good reflection of the Proverbs 31 woman who was out there being a beast and her husband had full confidence in her. And that means that she was a leader. So when we're not walking out the capacity that God has created us, we're missing opportunities to plant fields and vineyards, to lead, to go, to travel all over the world, going to afar, getting the best things that we need for our family and raising up and leaving a legacy of more Proverbs 31 women, aka hustle women out there. So anyway, this is the Inspirationalist, also known as the Hustle Woman, your relationship coach. I'm gonna make sure I let you guys know that with letting you know that you don't have to destroy your husband's manhood. Okay, you can build him up. That's what we're created for. And I want your marriage to succeed. So I hope these 10 tips gave you some resources to help you in the next upcoming week at least, and that this become practices and definitely something that you remember in the days and the years to come. Wishing you all the best. You guys have a blessed night, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.
What they all do.